Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Good afternoon, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. It's nice to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. I believe we've been having a wonderful day, and we want to sincerely apologize for the delay. We ought to have started by 2 p.m. We apologize for the delay. It was due to technical issues. Once again, I want to welcome you to today's NBA SLP Tech Series. And I also want to use this opportunity to appreciate those that have been joining us all along. And I believe that one way or the other, you've been learning, taking home some hints that would also advance your course as a legal practitioner. Yes, we have our speakers on standby. We have our speakers for today on standby. And okay, let me quickly send them a prompt to ensure that they are here with us. Yes, I want to welcome the Leonard Silk. Thank you for joining us, sir. Okay. Today, we are looking at the topic, legal tech startups. Yes, Mr. Fernandez, it's good to have you on board, sir. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So, um, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to begin this by apologizing for the delay in starting. For those of you who have attended any of our previous events, you realize that before the event starts, we're all ready. Usually, it's the attendees that wait for us. We're sorry about that. But we've started now, and we're going to go into field force and spouse. So thank you very much for the start. Now, unfortunately, the chairman of the committee, chairman of the section rather, Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice at a meeting. So I have to take her place to do the welcome address. So essentially, this is my welcome address. Well, you are very welcome. We're going to learn a lot today. We're talking about, the last few days we've been talking about AI, about how to apply technology. Today we're looking at the business side of the technology in law practice. The business side, how can you get involved in legal tech enterprises? What are things you need to do? Do you want to build? And for those of you who are giving advice to technology companies, really, you are understanding what's the understanding the nature of the business of legal tech, of the technology as it relates to law, so that we can be able to manage ourselves properly. We have two very strong hands to guide us through. Both of them are, I know, I've known for a bit, and they have very, very good resume, which Mrs. Jalade will read out after now. What I would like to add is that if you have not visited the NBSLP portal, if you have not seen our guidelines, the NBSLP guidelines for use of technology in law practice, it's important that you take a look at it. That is an important guidelines, because whatever you are, as long as you're a lawyer, you have access and you will use technology. We are sending the link here. I just sent the link to everybody. Whatever the case, you're going to be having access to technology. It's important that you have those and you look at them. They can help you in terms of cyber security, in terms of how to deploy artificial intelligence, other forms of technology, and data privacy. These were launched last year, and I hope we use them. Over time, we'll be pasting the link over and over so you get access, and of course, we'll make reference to it during the sessions. At this point, I'd like to get out of the way, so I'll allow the more important people to talk. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful event.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fernandez. And before we dive into today's topic, I would want to remind us that we should stay muted if we are not speaking. And once again, I welcome every one of us for joining us. And I want to especially welcome Our guest speakers for today, we have the person of Mrs. Ijeoma Nwafor and also Mr. Abiola Jimoh. Thank you for joining us. And I appreciate Mr. Fernandez for the very short remarks. And now without much ado, I wouldn't want to take our time because we've kept some of our participants waiting as well as our speakers. I would want to quickly run through the profile of Madam Ijeoma Nwafor. Permit me to read. Mrs. Ijeoma Nwafor is the country representative of the Hague Institute for International Innovation of Law, HiiL. HiiL is based in the Netherlands, focusing on people-centered justice. HiiL uses data to establish evidence of gap between the suppliers, lawyers, courts, institutions of justice, etc. And the demand markets the people. In addition, HiiL supports innovators in the justice sector in recognition that increased access to justice is tied to innovations that are people-centered. Also, by training, Mrs. Nwafor is an astute psychologist, a distinguished expert in psychology, policy development, and innovation, a serial entrepreneur. Mrs. Nwafor has started, failed, and succeeded in different businesses in different sectors, such as health, psychology, and the social impact development space. With a wealth of experience in social justice, advocacy for women, children, and economically disadvantaged persons, IJ, as she's fondly called, is a solution guru, a self-acclaimed pathfinder. This has a PhD, ABD in psychology, and holds a double major bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology from Townsend University, a master's degree in psychology, and a certificate of advanced studies with a focus on industrial and organizational psychology. She's also licensed innovation and startup specialist, currently working on a second PhD in policy and strategic studies. With her extensive background in policy development, Mrs. Nwafor has served as special advisor to a Nigerian governor and worked with a senator as senior legislative aide. She has also been part of the management and leadership of various commercial, non-governmental, and private sector companies in Nigeria and the United States. Also, as a country representative of the Hague Institute for Innovation of Law, Mrs. Nwafor is dedicated to promoting people-centered justice, a commitment to driving a positive change in aspiring, and our presence here today is a testament to our tireless efforts to engineer and ignite an entrepreneurial spirit, even within the justice sector. This is a very enviable, an enviable profile, I must say. Madam Ijeoma, I want to appreciate you. And I recall her saying, oh, I can actually edit this to reduce, but I could not just do that because this is very, 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 a very rich profile. And I could not find myself reducing this. And I want to say well done, Ma, for all that you do. I believe currently she's in a program and she just had to step aside to be with us today. And this we very much appreciate, Ma. And I also want to quickly run through the profile of our second speaker, Mr. Abiola Jimoh, the tech guru. Mr. Abiola Jimoh is a visionary fintech executive and legal strategist driving financial innovation across Africa. As co-founder and co-CEO of XChangeBox and director at PayRep Microfinance Bank, he is revolutionizing access to finance for SMEs and the agro-market value chain. He is a trained lawyer with a master's in public policy. He's also a certified expert in microfinance and digital finance. shaping industry regulations and financial inclusion strategies. Also, Abiola sits on multiple boards, including Unlimit, Falgate Foods, and Extension Africa, and has been recognized among the 50 most valuable personalities in Nigeria's digital economy. His thought leadership influences fintech policy, with his research widely cited in regulatory and industry circles. And also a governing council member of the Fintech Association of Nigeria. He actively drives policy reforms and financial inclusion initiatives. As a mentor for emerging startups and a champion for underserved communities, he leads impact programs through Skill Drive Income. Beyond his professional pursuits, Mr. Abiola enjoys archery and access throwing, embodying the precision and strategic thinking that define his leadership style. I read this and I was like, oh, when will I build such a profile? And I want to say, Mr. Abiola, well done for achieving this within what I would call a very short period, for the wonderful things that you do, the wonderful work that you put it, particularly into the tech world. Once again, let me take you through our topic for today. Our topic for today is legal tech startups, innovation, investment, and career opportunities. Before we go further, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aderonke Jalade-Akinwande, and I wouldn't keep you waiting. However, you can drop your questions in the chat box. Please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute yourself as we dive into today's topic. I want to once again welcome Madam Ijeoma. Yes, ma'am. We are starting with you today. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, reading through your profile, you know, you are a person of different colors. Innovation, you know, the push for justice and all of those things that you do. However, today we are going to restrict you to the, you know, the legal tech space. And we would want to know, Ma, you've supported justice innovators through HiiL. What makes a legal tech solution people-centered in the Nigerian context?
Okay, thank you. Very good question. So thank you for having me. Well, let me just even describe what HiiL, together with other international bodies, have coined as people-centered justice. And because I sometimes when we hear some terms, if we go for the country context, it makes it sound like we're the only ones facing the challenge. It's actually a global challenge. So statistically, it was discovered that most justice systems were built to strengthen the institution without consideration of, for the end users. So what that looks like is you have justice systems globally where the consumers of the justice products don't know enough about it, find it difficult to navigate, find it expensive to access. So that's why the accessibility is what's being addressed by SDG 16.3. So we're trying to increase access to justice for all. So what would make a tech solution within the justice sector to be people-centered is that it has to be based on data, actual evidence. And it has to be data that's gotten from real people with real challenges, with real justice journey. Before, say, the last decade, most data available in the justice sector was about the professional aspect of it, what lawyers are looking for, what court systems are looking for. But nobody was asking what the people are looking for. What do they need? So we need to also cultivate, even though it's changing over time, Also cultivate the habit of asking the end users, finding out, having data about the end user. So data helps with that. The next one is innovation. So if you're talking about people-centered justice, you're asking yourself, is this solution innovative enough? Does it move the needle just a little bit to create enough impact? So of HiiL, we're always telling people that we want you to move the needle, the social impact needle in the justice space, just a little, because even if it's just a bit, the impact can be enormous because the solution is innovative. I don't know if that makes sense, because it's not always good for entrepreneurs or innovators to look for the big bang. Big bangs don't come along that often, but sometimes it's the little things that makes the world of difference. It impacts a lot of people. So we're talking about data, innovation, and the third one is transformation. Transformation in the sense that it is sustainable, it is scalable. So you must, innovators must learn to have proof of concept. That's pilot to your concept. And pilots are always a bit challenging for innovators because you don't want to, when you're piloting something, it's likely that all your designs, all your thought process don't really match up with reality. So I always tell people that no matter the sector you're in, if you're an innovator, you need to brace yourself almost like a researcher. Because once you go out in the field to test that concept, you should prepare yourself that perhaps what's on paper and what's in real life. We're piloting two justice projects right now, one in Ogun State, one in Imo State. And I'm having to constantly remind my team that, look, we shouldn't hold on too tightly to what we had designed. We should actually be excited about what we're going to see, because sometimes the disparity is huge. But transformation occurs when, in fact, that concept, that innovation can be sustained over time, and it is able to become embedded in the culture in a way that actually creates impact. That's when you know that that solution is transformative. So those are the three dynamic things that when they're put together, it becomes people-centered. Because remember, the narrative started by getting data from the people, and then it ends by transforming the justice experience of the people. Thank you very much. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I believe that you've been able to touch on the ability of the people to relate with innovations. You know, as the changes occurs in the tech world, there must be that room for people to relate with whatever is being innovated, whatever innovation comes along the line. Thank you so much for that, ma. And I'm going on to Mr. Abiola. Mr. Abiola, are you there? Are you there with us?
Yes, I am. Can you see me? Can you?
Yes, thank you. It's good to see your face. And let me quickly make this announcement that today is your special day. And I personally want to wish you a happy birthday and long life and prosperity all the way. And today, yes, I want to take you up with, some questions as regards what you do. I believe that you've put in so much into the tech world, and it's all over you. Whenever your name comes to mind, what comes to my mind is, the XChangeBox. And so I have this question, from your fintech background, what are the business fundamentals every legal tech founder must get right from day one?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the benefits. By the way, just a little announcement. Myself and Aderonke are classmates over 16 years ago from Ife. So we have a relationship beyond just spend together. So thank you, everyone, for the wishes. I think Ijeoma, it's also good to see you. Everyone here is familiar faces. My fintech startup has benefited greatly from HiiL justice interventions, and I was going to mention that. Thank you. Now, every founder, and Ijeoma has actually touched on it, must do what we call iteration. Iteration means learning from the field. As a founder, one of the greatest lessons you will find in life is what you assume from your workshop or from your office while you are building the product. May be different from what the market will tell you. So as you're going into legal innovation or any sort of innovation, make people-centered products your core, which is, what is my customer telling me? What do they need? If you build a product that your customer do not need, you have only wasted your time. It's going to die a natural death. But if you build a product that solves a pain point, so look at the legal industry. Filing system is a problem. All right? But don't just look at the problem. Also identify who's going to pay for the problem. Because if you look at a problem without identifying who's going to pay for it, you're going to end up creating a problem, a solution that people are willing to use, but people are not willing to pay for. You need sustenance. You need survival. And to do that, you need finances. Grants is good, is fantastic. I've been a beneficiary of grants, multiple grants. But grants is not going to come for it. You need to have a revenue that is consistent, that drives your social innovation or your business innovation to an idea that's sustainable beyond you. So a very key point to note in mind to build a sustainable legal tech is find the customers, find the products. So first find the products based on a discovery of customers, which is you get feedback on what is the pain point for people, but not just that is a pain for them. Are they willing to pay for it? We say this very well. If what you are solving is a multivitamin, if the solution is a multivitamin, it is not needed. People don't need to take multivitamins. They can take away with fruits. They can go and take fruits in place of multivitamins. You know, or is your solution solving a serious headache? People need eggs to grow. So if it's a serious headache, they're willing to pay for it. If the doctor tells them, pay your headache, you pay 50,000 per day. I'm sure a lot of people pay for it. So what happened during the unfortunate COVID period? People are willing to pay for anything to keep their life, you know, their life safety well. So if your product is such that it's solving a headaches, but it's not just that they are headaches, are they headaches enough that people are willing to pay for it? You know, for example, I would like to have a one app, see it tomorrow, where a lawyer's cost list, all our cost lists can be on it. So, and it has reminder, it has auto reminder. I mean, I'm giving free idea here as a fan, which is, what do I mean by that? You have just one app that as I'm getting a filing, or as I'm filing a court process, as court is giving me date, I just key it into it. I know there's a calendar or a calendar that I can put, but your calendar might be for meetings. But you want a dedicated app for monitoring your cases, tracking your cases in different courts. So for law firms that have very busy litigation profile, you know, you just go to that app, and not only that it sends reminder, you can even document what you have filed. As of today, we have filed these documents. These are the processes pending to be filed. These are this. You just manage it. It's like a case management system in your pocket. If you can build that kind of thing and you make it a software as a service that Aderonke can pay maybe 100,000 naira per quarter to use that. She will know that she can do it with her diary. She will know that she has a one app that can manage all that for her. All right. I hope somebody takes this kind of challenge on. And it's not a lot to do. It's just a data management system. But not just that you build it. So you build it. Let's say you build that solution. Then give it out. Let people start using it to test it. When they use it and it's free, for example, for the first 1 month, cut it off after 1 month and see whether they are willing to pay for it. That's how you discover your solution. I'm trying to make it practical. Let me end it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola. All right, that is very, practical. Cut it off for a while and see if there is a demand for your innovation, if there is a demand for the solution, you're coming up with. And then he has also emphasized the need for capital, Before we go on, go back to Madam Ijeoma, I would want to state that this session is being recorded and our same will be shared online. And if you have questions, you have comments, kindly make use of the chat box. Madam Ijeoma, I am back. Yes, ma'am. So what
I'm
common
here.
mistakes do lawyers, yes, ma'am. What common mistakes do lawyer-led startups make when identifying the problem they are trying to solve? The same problem they are trying to solve, ma'am.
Yes. So it's good to see you, Mr. Abiola. Well, there are a few of them that we see at HiiL. One is not relying on data for diagnosis. So the first phase of developing your product is diagnosis, finding a problem, what the problem is. So some lawyers, because they feel like they are looking at it from a practitioner perspective. And once you do that, that means you're cutting off your market. And like Mr. Abiola said, you need your market. Somebody needs to be able to part with their money in order to get your product. So once they do that, they miss it because you can, by sentiment, believe that people need something, but in reality, they don't need it. There was this thing about there was a governor in the north that built a road, really nice road. I'm not going to call the state. This was a long time though. Really nice road that he felt that this is what my people needed. And he was so shocked. There was a protest that people said, no, they need a soup kitchen more than the road. And guess what? It's not because of poverty. How many people were driving in the state that would appreciate the car? I'm sorry, the road. Do you understand? So that's for me is a good analogy. It's not about judgment. It's about need. If somebody needs something, they need it. If you're giving them something they don't need, they won't appreciate, let alone paying for it. So using data again. The second one is that not properly researching the market or the demand realities. Like and for me, I feel like there's this push within the justice sector of looking at justice services when it comes to innovation as charity. And we're slowly getting out of it. The health sector is further down the road, the education sector is further down the road. But somehow, when it comes to justice, there's this assumption that people are not willing to pay for justice. And there's been, I've definitely gone to a workshop where it was called Funding Justice. This was about 3 years ago, trying to challenge the practitioners in the justice sector to make sure that their solutions are commercially thought out. Because the idea is, if you think about it, health should even be more free than justice, but it's not free. So why should justice delivery be seen as some charitable thing that you're just developing it to help society? Sometimes when we hear all those things, we're saying we're like, nobility is not sustainable in the innovation space. It has to be commercially valued, even if it's discounted. So that's another error. Another one is and I think I've kind of mentioned it, underestimating the value of the end user. We're seeing it in the trend where end users definition, and I'm going to talk about it some more if I get a chance. End users definition of justice is beyond legalities. So it's beyond the courtroom. And so globally, lawyers are now thinking outside the box, but within the Nigerian context, we see people struggling with it in the innovation space. So what do I mean? It's called an innovation space because you have to be innovative. So that means that the traditional way is not going to be your limit. You're thinking outside the box. And thinking outside the box is that you are going to really prepare your mind to be open enough to see opportunities in places where traditionally you will probably not see opportunities. And so that means you have to look at things from the end user's perspective. I'll give you a quick example. You mentioned that I'm actually in a workshop as we speak, and we're exploring a platform that we designed for Imo State. And we had a tech person there, and he was noticing highly technical things, and the lawyer there was noticing his own highly technical things. And what we asked them to do had nothing to do with either side. So it was really extreme. So you know what I did? I saw there was a journalist there. She was quiet and looked lost. And I said, no, I want you to try the system. Because if it works for you or if it's difficult, we need to hear you talk. because this is a lawyer and this is an IT guy, but then probably not going to be the ones to use this. So let me hear you. And it was interesting because her questions were very basic. So in designing that solution, the people we're trying to capture and serve is people like her. So that solution should have had her in mind when it was being designed. So it's a problem we run into quite a bit, especially when we have our innovation challenges. I don't know why it comes up quite often, but it's one of those. And then lastly, I want to, this might sound, I'm deliberately repeating myself because it's a major mistake we see all the time. And I want to challenge all of us. You know, sometimes it's almost, again, I can use the health sector, I can use the education sector, because of how the legal sector started. People are so boxed into that legal space. So when they come to when they want to do something, or when a startup is on its way, the bigger roadblock is that inability to stretch your imagination beyond your discipline. Someone once told me that the British taught us discipline, but America has taught us major. So that's why you should learn everything and major in one thing. Because if you don't think of justice in that broad sense, it also limits your ability to come into that space to find solutions to innovations. So you have to broaden your capacity to see your profession as being so much bigger than what you were taught. It has to be expansive. You're not just a lawyer, you're a solution finder. You're somebody who is waiting to be the answer to other people's problems. So it's so much bigger than just however much education you've gotten. If you're really serious about being in that innovation space. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this. I apologize. Thank you.
I can really tell that you're passionate, Ma. And Ma, you've been able to state that it is better to identify the need, even before you take the bold step as a startup person. And this will take me back to Mr. Abiola. Mr. Abiola mentioned money, as one of those things that is very key. And Mr. Abiola, this question is for you. So the question says, legal tech founders often struggle with monetization. What business models work and which ones fail in this space, in the tech space? Which model would you recommend?
Okay, I mean, your question is very loaded, but let's take it down this way. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you use any mobile app?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the mobile app you use? Let's say Dropbox. You use
Yes.
Dropbox, right? Do you pay for the Dropbox you use today? Oh, why are we going to the Dropbox? You use Gmail, right? You use Google Mail.
I do. Yes, I do.
And you don't pay for it, right? You don't pay for it, right? So to speak. So to speak. The only thing you pay for it for those
Yeah,
of us
with
tech,
you.
you pay for it with your data. Right? You pay for it with your data. They have access to your personal
With my data.
which you have signed up
Yes.
to. So they can use your data to do a lot of work. But let's not go there. Let's say people want to use tech solutions without having to pay for it. So when you say what model works, freemium work. It's called freemium. Freemium works because people don't want to pay for anything, no matter how well the tech solutions of them, they would not like to pay for it, right? But it's your duty to use freemium. Freemium method is not allowing anybody to pay for your service. Just deploy it. You can use freemium to do customer validation, product market fit, which is to say, okay, the tech solution I've built, people like it enough. People use it. Because don't underestimate it. There are a lot of tech solutions that we built that there is no adaptation, like adoption. There are a lot of tech solutions built on the shelf that nobody is using. It's the one that people are using that actually becomes popular. All right? So it means that after you build the solution, you can go in by way of free usage, which is to get people to adopt it. All right? Once they adopt it, they like it, you need to start beginning to introduce either pay as you go, which is the model, or pay a one-off fee if your service is that kind of service. All right? But you cannot run a service on freemium, except you have a very, very big grandfather that owns the whole of Nigeria. They're going to keep on funding you without expecting anything in return. Otherwise, as a lawyer, as a businessman, as anything, I mean, we encourage lawyers to do pro bono service because that's the way to show community service. That's the way to give back. That's the way to make people trust you and believe that you are contributing professionally and personally to the society. But can you make 80% of your cases to be pro bono? I'm asking a question. I said, how will it be in
Definitely
your profitability
no,
journey
definitely
if you make
no,
80%?
No.
So the key thing that you can do is to ensure that you start a product that people can adopt to do validation. Why do you need people to adopt it to do validation? We have programs that are dedicated to supporting any startup that knows how to do a good product. They're called accelerator programs that are where you will learn basic rudiments of business development, product market fits, identifying scalability and all that. When they see that suddenly your product is free, but it has over 10,000 users, they are going to be interested. In fact, Ijeoma is going to call you for a meeting because it means you have built something that has everybody's interest called upon. But you can't sustain on that. You need to begin to look at adopting solutions that are also can be paid for, no matter how small. At least, even if not to make a lot of profit, to cater to your costs. Otherwise, you'll be out of business in no time. Now, just to mention an aside, one of the key areas that we are working on a personal note, myself and the special assistant to the president on digital innovation and research, Mr. Fernandez, who is also part of this session, is we have a legaltech academy which we are introducing. That if you have any solution you have built and it solves legal justice problem in Nigeria or Africa, you are going to be allowed to apply. When you apply, we're supporting with money as much as 10 million, but not just money. We're also supporting you with office hours, which will give you access to business development. You're going to learn from more people like me that have been going the journey, or like you that has practiced law fully. I have just done law alongside going into the rudiments of business. But it's very tough, very, very tough. I'm not going to tell you it's that easy. And for every business that you see successful, there are more than 10 or 90% that are failed. So because it's a tough journey, we've decided to dedicate our time to spare, to spare you from that adult by enhancing your capacity to know better in business. To know better in business, running a startup, growing a business, and then find your business economics. Know your metrics right from when you're starting. Running on a lean metric, a lean model, so that you don't think being a startup founder is a bubble. It's a tough job. It's only when you start looking at success that it looks like a good job. Otherwise, it's a very tough job. So coming back, introduce charges. Except your grandfather has a farm of money, you cannot survive on running free forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola. Said you cannot. When Biola was asking that question, I was thinking about it too, that there are some apps that you run into, and then, when you see this free version, you are eager to use. But when it says, it mentions, a rate, a charge, and the next thing you do is you go back. You know what I mean? I don't know if it has happened to any one of us. And then you see the fee like, something dollars or naira. You be like, no, I'll try again later. And, we always enjoy the free apps. And the truth be told, money is involved. money is involved. Thank you so much, Biola. I said, except your grandfather has planted the tree of money somewhere, then you think you don't need money. But when it comes to startups, you know, you really need funds. Okay, let me bring Madam Ijeoma back on board, ma. Thank you for waiting. What are 3 non-negotiable things investors want to see before backing a justice or legal tech solution? Those 3 things.
Okay. You quickly out value. What's the value of the product? And value is not, there's this saying, we say put value before money because it's the value that will bring the money. And then, of course, the next thing is profitability. And profitability, there are 2 possibilities in the space, either impact and or commercial value. I mean, commercial profit. So impact in terms of how many people or how many problems it solves, that's the impact. Commercial is literally the one we know as profit. How much money are you going to make from that valuable product? And the third is sustainability. And one of the ways I've already talked about it to ensure that is proof of concept. So many pilots. There's a graveyard of pilots. That's what we say in the justice sector. Reason why there's a graveyard of pilots is because people don't pilot well, and I don't think innovators even understand what it means to actually pilot something. I would encourage people who want investors to be interested. I know HiiL, I'm using HiiL standard. I know you said third, but the 4th thing is also scalability. I just want to mention that. Yeah. Scalability is another thing that we look out for. Like, can we, after you've established its sustainability and you have a proof of concept, we want to know if it's scalable. And some people attach that to being bankable. Is this something that an investor can actually track? Almost like it should stand on a very strong business plan, and a bank should be able to look at it and find it exciting. An investor should have reason to look forward to its outcomes. So that's it. Let me keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So for every investor wants to know the value of what you're bringing on board. Yes, ma'am. I believe some of us are taking notes because I am personally taking hints of this point. These are not things that you read in textbooks. These are, few tips from experience, in the field, I must say. And Mr. Abiola, I have the same question for you. I don't know what your response would be. Maybe it could be quite different from Mrs. Ijeoma's response to the question. What are those 3 non-negotiable things that you believe investors want to see, in legal tech solution before backing a justice or legal tech solution? What are those 3 things that you would recommend?
Okay, that's for me, right?
Yes.
Okay. And let me ask you a very plain question. What are the things you will see in anyone before you fix your money down for that person to work? I'm throwing it back at you. What do you want to see?
I want to see value and sustainability. Can I really rely on this?
Good. So I'm making it practical because exactly. So see, there's no magic. A venture capital fund are money that are given. When you hear a startup has raised $10 million, let me break it down. This is what has really happened. Now, the category of people that give money to venture capital. What are venture capital firms? Venture capital firms are registered companies who have been registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria, for example, or in the US, who have the mandate to say, okay, Aderonke, give me $10 million. give me $20 million. They can even go to monies belonging to companies, some companies, and say, give me $10 million, give me 10 or 100 million naira, 20 million naira. And I have experience. Of course, they have to have that profile. I have experience to invest in businesses that have the potential of giving you 10 times the value of that your money in the next 5 years. All right. So when they are coming to you, they have already raised money from people who are expecting 10x the value of the money they give to you. Do you understand? So when they come to you, you that call yourself a legaltech startup or any startup, they are not coming to you because they like your idea or you're the best brilliant guy that can speak in the room. They are coming because they can, one, trust you. So the first thing you should have is that if you want to be a startup guy, you should start living like a startup guy from now. Build a credible name for yourself in whatever field you are at the moment. Build a name that Aderonke can say, oh, I know Abiola. Abiola will not steal your money. Abiola will not mismanage you. You can give him this money. That's one thing. Your character. You know the 3 C's of credit, because I take a lot, I borrow a lot of money because I do business. And the 3 C's of credit is character, collateral, and cash flow. Character means that you are a good person. People can vouch for you. You are not perfect. None of us is perfect. But you're a good person. People can fairly say he's a responsible person. He's not someone that is useless. They're going to use our money to buy wagon or buy house in Banana Island just to announce to social media he has arrived. You know, collateral is you have somebody that can vouch for you, or property that is left, or money in a bank that people can say when you default, they can take back their money from. And cash flow is that your business already has started generating money that can be seen that it can pay back the loan. Those are the 3 C's of credit. They're not different from what a venture capital looks like. Trust. Can we trust you? I'll tell you why I'm saying this. A venture capital money is not necessarily about the idea you have built. You see that your idea, it may not work. You may have to pivot it. You don't even know pivot. You may have to change it. That's what Ijeoma was talking about, piloting an idea. When you pilot an idea, even if you are taking venture fund money, if they see that idea will not work, if they believe in you, you can do a different customer discovery and build a separate idea from what they gave you money for, or return their money. So they need to trust you that you'll be responsible. You're not assigning that they will give you $500,000, and the next thing is that you are giving yourself a salary of $10,000 per month. I'll give you a little example. I run a fintech before I pivoted to IT. And because I run a fintech, let me give you the dilemma of a fintech. A fintech platform process an average of, sometimes on my system, let me say, that I'm just giving you a case study case, all right? Sometimes we process, say, 10 billion naira as money that's passed through our system. It's people's money. It's when you go to somebody, you use your card to pay. It is that shop that owns the money. Our own cut is just 0.005% of the amount. Do you think I own 10 billion naira? Hello? I don't care.
I'm here.
You know, a young guy who does not understand these on the things, the basic things, or who feel that he's in a bubble, might think it's his money. And then suddenly goes to withdraw 100 million from people's money. You know what's going to happen? It's going to become a Ponzi scheme. Do you see why a fintech must be regulated? Because if it's not regulated, people are bound to abuse this kind of privilege. But coming back to the key question you asked, people, you must be able to vouch for you. People trust you. Do you know the story of Google? Google raised the $100,000 they first raised because somebody believes in one of them, Larry Page, and recommended them to go and meet somebody that has money. All right? And says, you know what? I don't know what they are building, but I trust Larry Page. And Larry Page, give them $100,000 and let's see what they do with this. That is trust. It's the same thing an investor must have. The first thing they want to see is to check your profile, because if you do due diligence on and be able to say, this guy is a credible guy. He has been consistent. He knows what he does. We can trust him enough. Because you can actually fail. The fact that they gave you that money, 85 to 90% of startups fail. So the fact that they give you that money does not mean you automatically succeed. Every problem is not solved by. All right. Let me end it here. So they must trust you. The second thing, your idea must be sustainable, like Aderonke and Ijeoma said. The third thing is that ask yourself, are you ready to commit the next 5 years to this idea? Or you're just enticed for 10 minutes and you start collecting money from people. And after 1 year, you're tired, you want to jack back. Are you going to take money and jack back? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola. Thank you so much. So if you find yourself, I must say, that you are, let me say, of a bit of a questionable character and you want to go into the tech space, you know, you need investors, people to rely on your innovations. You might want to retrace your steps because these points have been emphasized: reliability, integrity, trust. People must be able to trust you to invest their money in whatever you are bringing on board. I have a question that is waiting for Mr. Abiola. I'll get back to it. And then I want to ask this question from Madam Ijeoma. And it's, I would say it's closely related to what has just been said by Mr. Abiola. What role does behavioral science play in the adoption of justice innovations? And how should founders use it to shape products? What roles does behavioral science play?
Yeah, thank you very much. So, one of the things about the behavioral sciences is, whichever you pick, is it has to do with human beings. So, you need an infusion of that from the diagnosis to the design and to the delivery, the 3Ds. So, because that infusion will allow you to see things from the people's perspective, of the person's perspective. It also helps you know how to do perception management. So in the entrepreneurial space, or even in the business space, perception is everything. It's not really, sometimes when you get to the point, it's not really about reality. Could be a debate for another day. It doesn't matter what the reality is. What matters is how the packaging appears. So what that means is that if you get caught up in your solution and you're not making it attractive for somebody from the outside, and behavioral sciences will help you do that analysis for sure. So at every stage, whether it's design, you want to ask the question, the people question. How do people see? Or you also want to ask the perception question. How does this appear to, so you go from the diagnosis to the design. When you're designing, who are you designing this for? I tell you, some challenges we run into that you need some psychological discipline for is during the design stage, because you can get so caught up in your field, you almost forget your market. So you see it a lot when people are pitching. You're like, so I have this solution, and if you come, you can tell they're passionate about it and everything. Then the investor, the investor will just ask one small question like, okay, so how does this design actually help the people here? And the person is lost because they got so caught up. So the psychological discipline also helps. So behavioral sciences helps with that. And of course, I don't want to repeat what was so eloquently put out there in terms of actual behavior and reputation. I always tell people, as a psychologist, I've learned that your behavior builds your reputation, but your reputation still needs help because you have to infuse some marketing and perception management in actually stabilizing your reputation. But it all starts with your behavior, your conduct, your character, and all those wonderful things that Abiola mentioned. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Yes, your behavior matters. When it comes to businesses, your behavior matters. Mr. Francis Nwora is appreciating the practicability of our speakers. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I go back to Mr. Abiola. Yes, Mr. Abiola, how can legal tech startups structure themselves to be attractive to investors, even at early stages? How can you draw attention to yourself at a very early stage?
Okay. I think the key thing that to get just to fairly right. The problem that you're solving, you must have a very clear story that I don't try to be confused about when. Let me give you an example. I mean, now, and the way I tell my story is because I'm a sourcing platform. Local refined, local processing. You know, the storyline I tell you, I just say I connect farm to factory. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, but not so
Can you hear
clearly.
me?
It's breaking up.
So I said, I just tell the investor or anyone I meet, I connect farm to factory. That is my market. I don't want to confuse you to start saying, you know, I sell to this, I do things. Your storytelling, your best skill selling. Two, go on self-development. Be ready for money to come to you. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Abiola. I understand you had to step out of another program to be with us today, but there's a bit of background noise where you are. Okay, we can't hear you at the moment. Hello, Mr. Abiola, are you still with us? All right, we would wait for Mr. Abiola to return, but while we wait for him to return, we would move on to Madam Ijeoma because of our time. So, Madam Ijeoma. Oh, okay, Biola, you are back. The network is actually breaking up from your end, I believe.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. So I was saying that one of your key first important steps to take to sell yourself to any investor is to get your story right. Get your story right. Be ready for money to come to you. How do you get your story right? We pivoted our business from fintech to agro-sourcing. Agro-sourcing that we do is just that we source agro commodities and sell it to people that want to do export or want to do local refining. But I don't tell people like this. It's too long. You know what I call myself? When I want to talk to you, I'm meeting you for the first time. I just said I connect the farm to the factory. Is that straightforward? I connect the farm to the factory. Because if you don't get your storytelling right, you're going to end up confusing people. And that's the same way your messaging must go out on all your platforms. Everywhere you're communicating about what you're doing, you have to tell your story in the most simplest form. Tell your story. There are some investors that will say, tell your story to a 7-year-old kid and let me understand it. Do you understand? That's one. Two is find a formidable team. Find a what? Formidable team. You cannot do startup alone. You cannot do a business, any business alone. If you are serious, find a formidable team. Find people with the right qualifications, the right character, the right vision that can align with you. If you have those kind of people, you have the world at your fingertips. Because even if you fail, you will learn together from it and do a better thing. All right? to find the right thing. You know,
Thank you
the
so
third thing I
much.
think you should do is to identify your unit economics from day one. If we sell this phone, this is how much we make from the phone. This is how much will be our profit. This will be the cost for buying the phone. Identify your unit economics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola. Find yourself a formidable team. You want to go into any business, it's very paramount. And then he also, you know, I want to link what he said with what Madam Ijeoma had said earlier. You know, she had mentioned that, you know, you go selling what you have innovated, and then along the line, they ask you the question, particular question, and you're lost. So you want to get your stories right and know how to sell yourself out there. And then, Mr. Abiola, before I let you go, there's this question that has been waiting in the box. Let's quickly attend to it. Let me try and locate the question. There was this question. Okay, so the question is for Mr. Abiola. How can one apply for the FG Accelerator Program for Legal Tech that you are working on with Mr. Fernandez?
Okay, thank you. The link will be up this weekend. We're filming on fees with the partners. And incidentally, Ijeoma was there. It's also a member of the council for the legaltech program. So it's something we're taking first and probably to do in our best way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the response. Let me quickly state that if you did not start with us, I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us. And then you can also catch up on YouTube if you have missed any part of this session and the previous sessions of the SLP Tech series. It's there for you to watch and learn like we're doing today. So, Mr. Abiola, this is still for you. What roles do partnerships, banks, telcos, government, courts in scaling in tech legal startups? What roles do they play? Okay. What roles of partnership with banks? Yes.
I think it depends on the solution you have. Some solutions you are building may require from start that you need a payment solution that gives you access to pay. So you need a bank or you need a fintech to be able to do that. For courts, what are you building? Is it targeted for courts? Targeted for lawyers? Anything you are building, identify your focus group. Who are your customers? Who is your focus group? Who are the stakeholders to make it work? So that will make you to streamline the roles of each of these category of stakeholders that you mentioned. You can't just throw out stakeholders openly without identifying what role they have to play in what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola. Mr. Fernandez is posting something in the chat box. Please, let's take advantage of it. He's posting, you know, a link that you can download from the Committee on Technology Law. Let's take advantage of this. Mr. Abiola, let me not let you go yet. Let me just take you on with these ones. So you advise and sit on startup boards. What key legal or regulatory risks do legal tech founders underestimate?
Okay, we don't really have a lot of legal tech in Nigeria, but the few we have, the successful one, the Law Pavilion of this world, the Law Pavilion, the one by country as well. And of course, last week we launched a June AI, which is a note-taking application for judges. I think the key thing you need to identify is data protection. So because you're going to be hosting data, most of the legal tech platforms. So as you are setting out, go and get your NDPR certification for your company. That's one. Two is forget anything you're doing. Make sure you prioritize cybersecurity. Because when you build anything for lawyers, they rely on it. And if you are not very key on security, if they hack the platform, you can mislead lawyers that can create more problems than you can solve. You know. to prioritize cybersecurity. I think those are the ones I can, relate with at this point. Another key regulation you need to work with is the section of legal practice just released a code of conduct for lawyers on ICT compliance, which you need to read to build any solution you're building. It's very important that you study it. It's very robust. Mr. Fernandez and his team worked a lot on that. I think that will also guide you to know what compliance is. But thank you.
Thank you so much, Abiola. Thank you. Let me go back to Mrs. Ijeoma. Mrs. Ijeoma, apologies for keeping you.
Can I be excused at this point? Can I be excused because I need to get back to the session?
All right, Mr. Abiola, we really want to thank you so much for being with us today. I understand, just like Mrs. Ijeoma, it's a very busy day for both of you, but we want to appreciate you for being with us today and for making it as practicable as possible in your responses. But I'm not letting go of Mrs. Ijeoma yet. Thank you, Ma, for your understanding. So, Ma, I would want to ask this question. Many of our participants, our audience are lawyers trying to build tech teams or co-found with developers. What's the best way to manage that relationship?
Well, I'd like to just generally encourage everyone to do some research. Google. And I'll tell you what to Google because we don't have enough time. So the first thing is you Google or research the team formation process. There are phases that teams go through, forming, norming, and all that stuff. It's important you know those phases. So when you're going through it, you won't feel like it's abnormal. When people come together, you could come together with a friend to start a business, and you find out that the friendship is different from the business. However, it's something that Africans need to work on because I was reading Forbes magazine about 2 years ago where they were saying that Africans don't have a good history of collaborations. So beyond just even when you're talking about team, especially in the tech space, we're not just talking about getting a team together. It's also the likelihood that you might actually be collaborating with someone. So let me give you a very typical example of what we see here at HiiL with our Justice Acceleration Program. So you see this lawyer that has found a solution and wants to techify it, and wants to introduce tech. So they go partner with an IT person. That dynamic, even the way they think, is different. So the lawyer is trying to explain all this stuff, and the tech person is saying, no, I don't think it's going to work that way. And the lawyer said, this is how it's supposed to work. Just that dynamic of going back and forth has a lot to do with the fact that these people are forming a team. There's a process. So if you guys get heated up, don't panic. It's part of the molding of the strengthening of the team. The second thing, so I want you to please go look at team formation. Is a process. It's like a 4-stage process. Then the second thing is don't take for granted that you're a good communicator. Bad communicators don't make good business partners. They don't make good team players. So in forming that team, you need to work on your communication skills. And that may mean that if you think, so in the business space, you meet people that say, I don't talk much, I just do. Well, it's not actually, you're not going to succeed if everything you plan to do is in your heart. That's what you do in your personal space. But in business, we need that thing in your head to be on paper. And we need you to share it with your team and identify who's going to play what role. You need to benchmark your goals to be smart. You need to have dates. So these are things that effective communication skills would do. And more specifically, when you do your research, see if you can find something about business communication skills, because it may be totally different from the person that you are. That's why sometimes you see people in the business space, they might be extroverts, but in their real lives, they're introverts. They don't like talking, but because they recognize that communication is key. The third skill set I'd like you to research on is conflict resolution skills. Conflict resolution doesn't mean herders and farmers conflict. Conflict is part of survival, is bound to happen when you're putting a team together. Let me tell you how serious it is. When I started working at HiiL, we had to fill out a form, a very long form. Most of you who are familiar with psychology, a personality test. We had to do a personality test. I was laughing because here I am, a psychologist, but I was actually excited that they know that even though we are entering the justice sector, you need to know the strengths and the challenges of the people you're bringing aboard. So, like somebody like me, I'm a very red, orange, yellowish type of person. I might be too much for someone who is a green, blue type of person. So anyway, as we laugh about it, but to think about a company like HiiL going through that process of doing personality analysis, that tells you a lot. And the reason why they do it is because it helps with conflict resolution. So automatically HR knows that these two people might be conflicting with each other. But what's more important for you without doing a personality test is to learn effective conflict resolution skills. And finally, the fourth thing is to have a culture within your team, within your collaboration, that all members commit to. You see some organizations now, when you come there, they are chanting something together, their principles, their values. It might sound, for a lawyer, you said, no, we're not going to go through that. But once you enter the business realm and you're forming a team, you're no longer just a lawyer. You're now dealing with HR issues, psychology issues, sociology issues, culture issues. So you have to wear a different hat and just have fun doing it. So I'm encouraging you to do the research. I don't want to talk much about it because I know I know the research is abundant out there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll take my mind back to an engagement with Mrs. Ijeoma earlier today. While I was reaching out and I was saying, oh, hope your day has not been stressful. She said something and said, stress is part of life. It's being prepared for life, being prepared, for what you have embarked on. And then, ma, we are interested in knowing that from your experience, ma'am, from so much experience in your profile, you had mentioned that you started out trying some endeavors in life and then failed. We want to know, you have had business failures and recoveries. What mindset should a lawyer founder adopt when startup journeys get tough?
You just have to decide that you're a winner. So it means that you have to keep redefining what success means to you. There's something, I've lived in 2 continents now, and there's something I've learned. The global north is quick to label things, and the global south is slow to label things. So that's why when you're in the global north, everybody has a mental illness. But when you're in the global south, people are socializing mental health issues. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it is in business. So you have to decide from the onset that you're going to win. So if you have setbacks, you just say, okay, this wasn't my time to win, but I'm going to win. And you keep trying to win. So if you're an entrepreneur, I'm highly entrepreneurial, addictively so. I mean, sometimes my family is like, what don't you do? And the excitement for an entrepreneur, like you could be a lawyer, but for you to be in this space now, there's something about you that you're a solution seeker. So in starting the journey, you should prepare yourself that to be a winner, it may not happen the very first time.
Yeah.
So that's one key thing. And then the second thing, like I said, be prepared to redefine success. Don't do what the global north do, where there's a label for something because they like order. But don't do what the global south does either. don't take labeling for granted. So what am I saying? As an entrepreneur, be willing to shift your idea of success based on your journey. I'll give you a very good example. There was a time I was very interested in running my own consultancy in another country. And I I was so sure all I needed was a license, and I got the license, and then I partnered with someone. Then I realized sooner or later, the money was not coming in. So for me, I said to myself, okay, maybe psychological services is not a success indicator. So what I started doing was, I remember that, oh, wow, I know a thing or two about, when you were reading my profile, industrial and organizational psychology. So I had two departments, one for corporate and one for personal services. And so I now, all of a sudden, my measure of success is how many corporations will I bring? And even within that, I just targeted one because I had to test run it. So I was shifting the goalpost because I didn't want to be discouraged. A lot of entrepreneurs get discouraged. In the justice sector, a lot of lawyers will start something entrepreneurial, they get discouraged and they withdraw. They go back to litigation or they go back to the traditional setting because it's overwhelming. I don't think I can do this. Then lastly, something you have to understand, and I again, I want you to go do something. I'm giving you all this homework. Sorry, pardon me. I'm not a teacher, but we don't have time. So the very last thing I want to encourage everyone is to learn to detach yourself from the sentiment of your journey. So what I mean is this. Without sounding like we're in church or anything, but we're literally spiritual beings having a human experience. So whatever you encounter in your life is part of your storytelling. So that means that when there's a failure, you quickly, that's what I do. I quickly switch to what went wrong. I do an analysis, I do a self-reflection. How did I contribute to this loss? What could I have done better? I remove myself from as quickly as I can. Of course, you do human reaction, but don't stay there. Transition to that detachment and recognize that it's a journey. Imagine if you started a business and you didn't have a story. If I didn't have those failures, I wouldn't be able to answer this question the way I'm answering it. But it is, yeah, so you also have to package your failure to be part of your story. The scars of battle is part of the battle because you have to prove you went to war. So make your failures your honor. Definitely
Thank you so much, ma'am.
In business, you have to expect that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If I'm so reluctant to cut you short, ma'am, because I'm learning so much. I am personally learning so much. And I want to believe that so far the participants of today's session have also been able to learn so much from your personal experiences, from the advice given, from your recommendations, and also that of Mr. Abiola. I have a message from Mr. Apalando, I believe. And I believe this is actually directed at Mr. Abiola. But I do apologize as Mr. Abiola had to step aside because, like I said earlier, both our speakers today, they are currently engaged somewhere, but they had to, honor the invitation to be here with us today. And on behalf of the SLP, we want to say a very big thank you, ma'am, because I wouldn't ask for more. I wouldn't ask for more. You've poured out yourself, ma'am. You poured out yourself. And lastly, what I'm taking from the last point you made is staying resolute and also knowing when to do that check and also re-strategize. Something is coming in, ma'am. Let me quickly check if okay, thank you, Mr. Fernandez, for reposting that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being there for us, for being a part of today's Legal Tech series. We want to really appreciate you on behalf of the chairperson, SLP, and the committee, and the whole team. Thank you so much, ma. We do hope. I'm looking out for when I'll be, onto one of the sessions that you are in, ma, so I can also enjoy and tap into the knowledge, ma. Thank you so much, ma. And appreciation also goes to all the participants of today's session. There wouldn't be a session without you, and we really want to appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. We do hope that you take advantage of the link posted by Mr. Fernandez, and also stay tuned because we still have more for you from Legal Tech. Thank you so much for joining us. Do enjoy the rest of your day.